I've had some questions about what is on the wall of blue. So let's take a closer look with the nice natural light, starting up here on the top left. So these two are Kato SD80 Max. For those of you that don't know, that was the largest locomotive that Conrail had. They had all 30 produced. They were 5,000 horsepower from a 20-cylinder 710 engine. Pretty impressive units. I've had these since 2002, I believe it was. And they were actually my first DCC decodered locomotives besides a few of the Atlas Master Series that came with them at the time. So two of those, Kato SD80 Max. Moving on over, I have three. All three that they did at the time in the first release. SD70 Max. These are Athearn Genesis. They were the original yellow box. Yellow and blue, and they are also decodered. I also have another set of these that I got off eBay really cheap that I'm going to someday attempt to renumber that set. So those are all decodered. And then an Atlas caboose. And moving over here, of course, now my natural light disappears, of course, so hang on a second. Okay, so here we have a ready-to-roll Athearn SD50. It is not decodered. There's a problem with the board. I put a decoder in it and it fried the decoder. So I do have a replacement board and a decoder for someday in the future. I just haven't gotten to it yet. As a matter of fact, all the locomotives on this shelf are not decodered yet. So here's an Atlas -8 40C. Two Atlas U23Bs. I got this one off eBay, and it does have the cab signal box on it, but unfortunately, from all the pictures I've consulted, this unit did not have a cab signal box. So at some point, I will change that. Over here, 2751 is also an Atlas U23B. So notice that I have changed the front marking, because this particular locomotive, the long hood was forward or front. Moving on down, a Atlas Red Box U33C. These were released in the mid-90s. It's hard to find them today. Atlas has not made a new release of this. I believe I heard rumors that they lost the molds in China. So that's gone. You'll probably never see them again, except for the used ones on the market. And another SD80 Mac Kato. A Atlas Trainman caboose. And down here we have three Athearn ready-to-roll GP38-2s. These are not decodered yet. They are not DCC ready. So they're going to require a little bit of wiring and whatnot. One of these days I'll get around to that. I got too many projects to do. That's why they're sitting up there. Next, we have three Athearn Genesis, one of the first runs SD70s. These also were not DCC ready at the time. You have to do a board replacement. And that means you have to put resistors on the light bulbs, and then I was running into problems with one light bulb would be brighter than the other, and so on and so forth. So I have a solution for that. I bought the boards to put a 9-pin receptacle from Athearn, and you still do need a resistor, but you're only changing the voltage between 2.5 or 2.7 volts down to 1.5. So I forget what resistor I used. I wrote it down. That takes care of the problem. So I did one of these, which is not on the shelf. I did one of my originals. These 3 were purchased off eBay. So, yeah, eventually I'll get to that now that I know what to do. Moving down to a Athearn ready-to-roll caboose. Next shelf, SD40-2s. These were the first release Conrail ones that Athearn did probably about 15 years ago. You'll notice the handrails are slightly purple. That was one of the things with this run I noticed. So these 2 units here, this one I think is an original number, and I'm pretty sure this one here I renumbered. So again, Athearn, ready to roll. Then we move over here to the 2 SD45-2s. These are also Athearn Genesis. I believe this was like one of the first runs they did, but notice they did it right with the extended fuel tank. And it also has the low exhaust, dustbin blower, and fans. These were ordered this way for clearances and also with the large fuel tanks, so they could run, I think it was from New Jersey to Chicago nonstop without having to refuel. 5,000-gallon fuel tanks. These 2 particular ones also have sound in them. It was the original MRC sound system, which the sound doesn't sound too bad, but the decoders are kind of squirrely. They do some weird things from time to time. So I haven't decided whether I'm just going to yank the decoders out and put a regular one in or what. But they are pretty cool anyway. And they also have the horn placement correctly as well. Moving down, this is a Atlas GP40-2. It was one of the first releases, I think, of this particular model. I have several of these, and I also have a few more new in the box, same numbers that I'm going to renumber. So those are pretty good. The only disappointment with these is they use surface-mounted LEDs on the headlights, and they're not quite as bright as they could be, but they're not bad either. So, all right, moving on. This is an Athearn GP35. Does have the cab signal box on it. And then an Athearn Genesis GP15-1. I was kind of disappointed with these units. I don't think they run all that great. Also, you've seen in one of my past videos, I got one brand new out of the box with a bent wheel. I was not happy about that. And lately, that seems to be the thing with Athearn, getting stuff that is not good quality. Which is why I have not bought any new Athearn locomotives in quite a long time. Not to mention their outrageous, ridiculous prices on the new stuff. Anyway, moving on. These 3 units here are Athearn Genesis SD60s, SD60Is. This was one of the first releases they put out. If you'll notice, on this 5626. I'm very annoyed with this one. Again, Athearn quality at its best. The hood looks like it's been in a wreck, the whole cab and hood, because when they glued this, they did it wrong, and it's screwed up. If I'm brave at some point, I'm going to try to take it apart and cut the glue and try to fix it. If I can't fix it, I might just try replacing the unit and just part this one out. I don't know. But that annoys the hell out of me that it doesn't look right. Luckily, that's the only one I ran into with that. Also with these were the ones that they put on a board when they shipped them, and I had broken trucks on a couple of them, and I had the right Athearn to send me trucks. Not a good packaging design at all. And the last one, 5544. So I believe this one and this one are decodered. I can't quite remember. I'm pretty sure those two are. The rest of them are not. These are just regular SD60Ms. Because if you'll notice, on the nose here, there's not a line running down. And on this one, there is. So that's an isolated cab. That has a big piece of rubber in there to isolate the cab from the frame and the rest of the car body to keep vibration down. So that's the difference between the M and the I. You can see it really good there. So these three, again, Athearn Genesis. I didn't have the problems with these that I did with the eyes. These were a later release, and these are not decodered yet. Okay, down on the next shelf. Now we're moving into the Atlas Classic line black box series. So these are decodered. So that is a C425. You can tell by the fuel tank setup and these things hanging down off the walkway that it's a 425, and also this back radiator section, if you look under the conrail and above it, compared to a 424, which is right next to it. Notice the differences in the two. That's how you can tell the difference between a 425 and a 424, if I could hold the camera still. So this is also an Atlas Classic. Then moving down to the RS11s. These are also Atlas Classics, black box. And then we have an Atlas Master Series. This is a Century 420, or C420 for short. These came from the Lehigh and Hudson River Railroad. I believe they only had 6 of them, and this was the only one to get blue, and it was only just a generic blue, no logo. Then moving down, we have 2 Atlas Classic black box GP7s. So all of the locomotives on this shelf have been decodered. And followed by an Atlas caboose of the New Haven style. And then lastly, this last row, none of these locomotives have been decodered on this shelf. These are the original Proto 2000 SW1200s. Notice the color is way off when you compare it to the other ones. Not decodered. The numbers are too big. I really don't like the color of them. I'm trying to figure out a solution for that, because they do actually run pretty nice. I may renumber them. I may even repaint them. I'm not sure. We'll see. followed by an incorrect GP20 for Conrail, because by the time Conrail got them, the turbos had been stripped, and they either had 2 or 4 exhaust stacks. So this one is not correct. I was going to try to do some modifications on this one, but again, haven't gotten to it. It is kind of neat how the door swings open. And then moving on to SW8s. These were newer Protos under the Walthers umbrella. These, again, are not decodered yet. Hopefully someday they will. They need a special decoder. NCE makes them, so I'll be addressing that at some point down the road. This is a Walthers bay window caboose with the small side windows. Really like this one. Very cool. I have 2 more of those in the box, never been out. Someday they will. Another Atlas C425 classic black box. And a GP38-2 Athearn ready to roll, non-DCC ready, so that's going to take a little work. And then a ready to roll bay window caboose. So that pretty much wraps up what's on the wall of blue. So here's a overall shot again, so you'll know where I was videoing from at any particular time. And thanks again for looking.